ChatGPT is happening. It's happening right now, all around us. You should try it. I warmly recommend. During this presentation, what I'd like to do is I'd like to look at how Star Trader is using AI right now, and then go into ChatGPT and look at how ChatGPT fits into the overall AI world that we're living in right now. There's a big evolution happening. And from there, I'd like to go into the financial markets and consider how these technologies are applicable or not applicable in the financial markets that we live in right now. So let's do the simple one first. Let's just look at how Star Trader is using AI and machine learning technologies right now. If we would have had this presentation 12 months ago, then I would have been talking to you about Star Trader having offices in countries where perhaps 2 out of 8 people live, maybe 3 out of 8 people live. Today, Star Trader operates in countries where 5 out of 8 people live, meaning 5 billion out of 8 billion people in total on our planet live in countries where we operate. That's a big, big change. And the way that we've done that is that we've used AI and ML technologies in order to try to predict what the next markets are going to look like. If we take existing technologies and move them in, what's going to happen? If we take new services and move them in, what's going to happen? If we do it with and without various payment methods, what's going to happen? All in all, we're using AI and ML methodologies and also technologies in order to work out what to do next. It's actually part of our business today. The same is true about payment methods. We currently have about 200 ways by which customers can withdraw money and deposit money. If they see an opportunity, they want to be able to deposit quickly and open an account quickly, get live, place that trade. Really important. Speed is really, really important. So what we do when we go into new markets is, first of all, quickly to establish the payment methods that are needed in those markets. And then we do process flow analysis, and we go in to see how we can optimize these things, because our customers want transactions to go quickly. So by modeling these things and working out how to do them most efficiently, we can make things better. So we're using AI and ML technologies in order to do process optimization of our payment network. And it's complicated, 200 different routes in, out, in, out. It's actually quite a complicated system that we're operating. Another area which is interesting is that 12 months ago, I would not have been talking to you about institutional business that Star Trader does today. But I do talk about that now, because over the past 12 months, the amount of traffic we're seeing going through our systems is so high. People are buying, selling, buy, sell, buy, sell, faster and faster and faster all the time. That high flow or high liquidity or market depth, those are all the same things, is so big now that other brokers are coming to us and saying, hey, can we use your systems in order to do our business, which is fine. And they do it partly because our technology has become good. We have low latency, so things happen really, really quickly. And also because they feel comfortable that if they want to make a big withdrawal, we have the money to support it. And yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Additionally, other brokers are coming to us for risk management. They want to understand the risks that they're taking in their business, and we can help. Again, we're using AI, ML technologies in order to model the effects of having vast numbers of transactions coming through at the same time. We're looking for potential problems. We're trying to understand which variables are the key variables. We're trying to stress the systems in different ways and try to predict what can go wrong, what can go right. All of those techniques are core AI, ML techniques that people use. We definitely do in our business. So AI and ML have come into Star Trader, but it's more than that. It is it's a bigger thing than that. It actually affects all of us very deeply. I'd like to go back a little bit in time, 500 years, to William Shakespeare. Juliet comes onto the balcony and she's fallen in love with Romeo. And she stands on the balcony and she says, "Too early seen, unknown, and known too late," in one of the most romantic moments in literature that I know about. Romeo is of the wrong type, and she realized too late that he's of the wrong type. Big, big drama for her. Terrible, terrible moment. And in the garden, Romeo's looking up to her, loving her. It's a beautiful moment. Now, in my little life, back in 1992, I bought an Apple message pad. And so did my colleague Mikko Terho over at Nokia at the time. And we looked at it, Mikko and I, and both of us thought, this is huge. Instead of pressing buttons, these guys are using a flat screen in order to operate a phone. This is huge, both of us thought. It was not good. In fact, it was dreadful. The character recognition did not work. The whole thing was pen operated, which was a mistake. But given that time's technology, it was the best that was possible. 1992, 15 years before the launch of the iPhone. That product range was ultimately killed off and ridiculed, and people laughed. I left Nokia in year 2000, and 7 years later, Apple launched the iPhone. Incredible moments. So, in my experience, and I'm sure that you've seen this yourselves as well, all of you, we often overestimate the short-term impact of change. And directly afterwards, we underestimate the long-term impact of change. And my big message to you is that AI and ML will be hyped and ridiculed. AI and ML can be used for good and for bad. But they are here, and they're here to stay, and they're incredibly powerful. They're growing incredibly quickly. Are they safe? No. Can we stop them? No. AI will accelerate incredibly quickly. And a little bit like climate change, we don't have any control systems to prevent this from happening. So AI is super important. So my message to you, my key message to you is that if you have not tried ChatGPT, sign up and try it. If you haven't tried it on Microsoft, sign up for that one as well and try it. Same thing on Google's Bard. Just try them all. So why is this AI and ML thing big now? Because we've heard about these things for a long time. Well, the big step change that we've seen over the last few years is on the left of this picture, you can see the amount of data that people typically use in order to train their models. In 2012, typically people used 150 gigabytes of data in order to train their models. Today, people typically use 45,000 gigabytes of data when training their models. That's a really big change. Additionally, when training these models, you need a lot of computing power. You can see on the middle of this picture the increase in the number of zeros of floating point operations that are possible per second now. Absolutely incredible numbers. If you look at the increase between 2012 and 2023, the increase is incredible. Computing power is going through the roof. There used to be, when I was even younger and even more innocent, there used to be something called Moore's Law, where the computing power would double once every 18 months or so, roughly. Today, the computing power of the machines used to operate AI doubles every 6 months. And that's why you get so many zeros in the middle of this slide. Incredible growth of computing power and incredible growth of the amount of data you could use. In principle, you could take today's models and train them on the contents of the full internet. but that would be too slow. It makes more sense to use a smaller data set with today's computing power, and then in 6 months' time, when the computing power is double, you increase the data set. This is evolving quickly, really, really quickly. Big companies have a big advantage. They can really cement their advantage by using these things. Big, big, big. I'm going to talk about Microsoft in a separate talk later on. And what can AI be used for? Well, everything. Those of you that have met me at length know that the occasional hand of Texas Hold'em is something I welcome. Very good for poker, very good for Go, very good at simulating human behavior, so much so that it's possible to deceive humans into believing that they're interacting with a human, whereas you're not. And the most recent models are able to observe themselves and improve the model themselves. So it's kind of the beginning of artificial life, which is actually happening now. When the models can improve themselves and replicate, something is happening, and that's possible now. AI is accelerating. Now, what is it that makes this all difficult? Why do you need a model? Well, it's actually rather simple. If you take the words, I love you, then instead of saying the words, I love you, you could say, you, I love, or you, love, I. And in fact, there are 6 ways in which you could combine those 3 words. First, you have a choice of 3 words, you pick one. Then you have a choice of 2 words, you pick one. Then you have a choice of 1 word, and you pick the 1 word. 3 times 2 times 1 gives you 6. 6 ways of organizing those 3 words. If you're a mathematician, you write that with the 3 and the exclamation mark. If you use Excel or Sheets, you use the function fact. So you write equals fact, brackets 3 and brackets, and the result will be 6. If you have 8 things that you combine instead, you can try this in Excel or in Sheets, then you'll find that more than 40,000 ways are possible. On this picture, you see 15 arrows on the left. There are more than 1,000 trillion ways in which you could combine those 15 arrows. So you need a model, because going through those 1,000 trillion alternatives is not useful. You need a model which somehow rationalizes this and enables you to provide action. And my friend Henry Terho is a rock star at this. You can see his LinkedIn profile at the bottom there. Absolutely incredible. More from him later on. Also, you can use this basic architecture for very many things. You can generate music, graphics, text, and in the middle of this you see ChatGPT. And I think ChatGPT is fundamental. ChatGPT is going to really change our lives. I warmly recommend that you sign up to as many language-based AI models as you reasonably can do and get comfortable with these things, because these things are now part of our lives. As of now, they're part of our lives. When I was really young, I started school, and we had pencil and paper, and then someone invented the pocket calculator. And towards the end of my studies, we were allowed to use pocket calculators in our exams. In the beginning, we felt that that's cheating. Surely you can't use an electronic calculator when you're doing your exam. Paper and pen, that's all you need. Similarly, now people are worried about people using ChatGPT for solving their Harvard law exam. Well, yeah, of course you can. Definitely you can. So education needs to move on in the same way as using a pocket calculator has become a norm when you have your exam. In the future, using ChatGPT as an integrated part of your education and work life and private life, bingo, that's what's going to be happening. ChatGPT is simply huge. But let's put it in context for a moment. So we have ChatGPT. It's built by OpenAI. OpenAI has also built the models GPT-3, GPT-4, and based on GPT-3, GPT-4, you then have services. And Microsoft is also using GPT-3 and GPT-4. They're using the same models for their AI. Google's Bard uses the Lambda models, which are different. So we have different AI models coming through here, language-based AI models. And we'll get different results. And we're familiar with that because we've tried different browsers, and depending on, or we've tried different search engines, and we know that if we use different search engines, we'll get different results. We can even go through the different tabs in a search engine and find different results. We're kind of accustomed to that. We're going to have the same here because the data that has been used in order to train ChatGPT is not the same as the data that Microsoft has been using on the same model in order to train the use by Microsoft of the GPT-3 and GPT-4 engines. So the results are different. And the results are even more different if you're using Bard, because Bard is using its own data, totally different model, totally different outcome. We're going to get really comfortable with these things. This is going to be absolutely mainstream behavior by all of us. So get on board now. When these discontinuities come, by the time we see them, they've already hit us. So when we recognize the discontinuity, jump on the other side, live on the other side immediately, because that's already the world. It's already happened. It's already too late. So ChatGPT is here. Please sign up. Please use it. Please get comfortable, because it's part of our future lives. Microsoft is going to be implementing these things in all of their product sets. The world is changing right now. This is a major evolutionary step in the online world. In fact, it's not just the online world. This touches all of us. And let me give you some examples. Music is one good example. My friend Hans Becker has been working on automated music generations for many years. And what you can do is you can look at a library, like a 100,000 song library, and then based on that library, you can teach it different things, you can learn from that, you can run a model, and you get a result. So by way of example, if you like the lyrics from Taylor Swift, and if you like the sound of BTS, and if you like Shreya Ghoshal singing, and if you like the style of Davido, great. You can put all of those things inside a model, and out comes music. And yeah, if that's your style, then you'll probably like the outcome. My friend Hans Becker left that area of business because the intellectual property rights aspects are really tricky. If data includes copyrighted data, like Shreya Ghoshal singing, and drives and trains a model, and then the model is used to generate new music that sounds like Davido and BTS, then hold on, who owns that output? What are the digital rights around this? This is tricky. And for that reason, Hans moved over to game animation. And he's now the executive chairman at a company called Motorica.ai. What they have done is they've filmed thousands of people. They've paid people to come into the lab, and then they filmed the way that they use their hands and the way that they walk, the way that they behave, and so forth. And they captured those things. They modeled those things. And they can now generate groups of people inside computer games. Now, there's a big change here, because typically when you build a computer game, it's very expensive to have a group of 52 zombies or whatever running towards you. It's very, very expensive to do that, because you have to describe every single zombie, you have to get everything right, and they're all moving towards you, and it doesn't feel quite right, but whoops, run out of budget, okay, we'll go with what we have. What Motorica.ai allows game developers to do is to direct these zombies so that they can animate one, animate second, drop a couple of zombies, bring in some 5-year-old girls instead, bring in a couple of football players on top, and play around with those things. Remodel, 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 automatically generating people who move around based on the training of the Motorica.ai model that has been done previously. Really powerful. So you can have groups of people dancing, fighting, running around, or just having a good time, lying on the beach. Very, very, very interesting technology. Totally different use of AI than the other one we just spoke of. Also, fresh food is an area. Now, earlier I mentioned Henry Terho. He's been working with beer. He's been working with self-driving cars. So for self-driving cars, you're using computer vision in different ways and process automation. When you do beer brewing using AI, which is what Henry has done, you're looking at the purity of the product and so forth. You're growing yeasts and so forth. All of those techniques are also used today for fresh food manufacturing. And that's what Breathing Fish and Aquadata.club do. That's what they do. And it's also similar to the things that Motorica.ai does in a way, because these guys are also looking at the health of fish by looking at how they swim to make sure that the fish is happy. All in order to deliver fresh, local, and sustainable food. The things we eat in the future will be delivered using AI technologies. And a lot of the farming of wheat and so forth that happens, for instance, in South Dakota and California today, is controlled with machine learning. So these techniques are rolling in. They're changing what we eat. This is fundamental. Big, big changes in our lives. Here at Star Trader, we also have a club of people who use a number of these technologies in order to try to predict what's going to be happening in the stock markets. I like what they're doing. It's kind of a collaborative approach to how to use AI and ML. It's actually quite nice. And it's similar to the way that people are using modern computer games today. In modern computer games today, quite often you're collaborating with other people. You're kind of in the game and you collaborate and you kind of live, you become part of the game. The line between yourself and the game changes. And what these guys are doing is they're making EAs, or electronic advisors, using AI. And it's a group of different technologies, group of different things. And now that ChatGPT is here, they've integrated that into the way that they do things. Really interesting. So connect with me on LinkedIn if you're interested. You can see my link at the bottom here if you're interested in these things. Please do. I love their work. I think it's really, really exciting. And there's more, and they keep asking me for advice, can I give them investment advice? I can't do that, but what I can do is I can describe how I and my colleagues here at Star Trader behave on a daily basis. What we do every day is we take a couple of problems that we want to crack, and we have these, you can call them creative sessions if you wish, but it's just the way that we work. So we identify something that we want to understand at a different level, grab a couple of friends around, and then for a limited time, in a limited space, like an online meeting or in a room, we gently wrap our minds around this problem and try to solve it. And we solve it. Once we've done that, we shift onto the other side, and it's execution, execution, execution. And at the end of the day, maybe we use a sense of humor to jump back onto the side where we're open to insights and we're thinking freely again. Shift between these two. That's actually very similar to this idea where we're using data to train a model, adapt the data. Once we're comfortable, execute. And then later on, open up again. Very, very similar to that. So what's happening in the market? Well, the market is kind of odd and distorted right now. We've seen a lot of quantitative easing over the last 10, 15 years. We've seen a lot of low interest rates which are coming up now. And one famous New Yorker, well, I mean, he lived in Florida towards the end, but was Martin Zweig. And Martin Zweig was this wonderful, extravagant party man on Wall Street. And one of his big rules that he always said was true was that when the interest rates go up, the share prices go down. It's one of the sort of big rules. And he's been more or less right in a lot of the things that he said during his lifetime. He passed away already, I'm sorry to say. But that's not true right now. His rule is not true right now. Over the past months, we've seen the US Fed increase the interest rate multiple times, and at the same time, we've seen the S&P 500 go up. So one of the most sort of fundamental rules that everyone has always believed in, kind of the Martin Zweig rule, is not true at the moment. So we're in new territory. New territory means that it's more difficult to use AI models because AI models are trained on some past data. So in terms of traders with an instinct, this is a very interesting time to be a trader. Also, let's look at this quantitative easing thing that we spoke of previously. Incredible printing of money has happened, and the reason that's happened is because the money was intended to go into the banks and then become invested by companies into new technologies and new services and so forth and so forth. That was the big plan. But the models were not quite good enough because the banks are a little bit more complicated, and the banks have been looking at the low interest rates for multiple years. And when that money has come in from quantitative easing, they've used that money as security in order to take loans. And with those loans, they've partly lent money out to real estate, partly lent it out to people who want to buy shares, and they've also been buying bonds, long-term securities themselves. So a small amount of money has gone into investment, but a much bigger amount of money has actually gone into houses and into shares. That was not intended. That's happened over a big number of years, 10, 15 years. What we're seeing now is that a small percentage of that very big number is leaking into inflation. It's going into the consumer price index. Again, this is a new situation. If you use ChatGPT for this, it won't find it because the situation is new. ChatGPT is trained on old data. It's incredibly useful if you assume that old data is 100% relevant for this problem. But this problem is new. We've never been in a situation where we have big quantitative easing causing these effects. So inflation is going high, and we have countries like the US where inflation is running around 5–6%. Back home in London, inflation is running around 10. I think February was 10.4%. London's goal is that inflation should be at 2%. That's miles away. In Thailand, inflation is running around 5%, 5.5%, and the Central Bank of Thailand says that the goal is between 1% and 3%. That's a big difference again. Japan, well, Japan is a bit of an oddball. Inflation is around 3% and negative central bank interest rates, so it's a bit of a strange thing. Japan's been strange for 20, 30 years now. And China is a wild card. We don't quite know what's going to be happening with China. China is opening up. The economy is going up much quicker than most economists expected. We don't know what's going to be happening with China. It's a big economy. We don't know exactly what so all in all, this is all complexity. And so where is it going to go? We don't quite know. And what we do know is that the inflation is going high. Now, the simple solution to pulling down inflation from a central bank standpoint is to pop up the central bank interest rate. But the problem is, when they've done that, they've had two effects. Partly, they've killed off banks like Silicon Valley Bank, and partly they're killing investment in normal businesses. So increasing the central bank interest rate is actually very, very, very difficult. In London, the central bank interest rate today is 4.25%, but the markets have already kind of priced in that, or have they, that the central bank, that the Bank of England will increase the interest rate to 4.75% later on this summer. These things have an effect on Forex, they have an effect on everything. We don't know what the Bank of England will do, but we're in unknown territory. And the big message I have with this slide is that the quantitative tightening is fundamentally not the same as quantitative easing. It hits people in different ways because you have multiple players. This is like game theory. You have multiple players and they have different behaviors in different situations. Modeling this using ChatGPT or modeling this using any other AI is incredibly difficult because whatever you do is going to be based on past data, and we don't have experience. So the conclusion is that, yeah, there is money in 2023. Personally, I believe that from a Forex trader, gold trader's perspective, 2023, 2024 might be the biggest years ever for traders. And the reason is that there's a lot of money out there and there's a lot of volatility. People don't know what's going to happen. It's wonderful to be a trader. It's a perfect time to be a trader. And there's more money coming out, and more volatility coming out, partly because of President Biden. President Biden is printing $1.2 trillion under the Infrastructure Act and pushing that out. It's going to affect so many businesses worldwide. They're going to buy trucks from Komatsu and so forth. Big changes in the world. It's very, very, very much money. At the same time, we have the $280 billion US Chip Act, and that again will affect many companies worldwide. Fujitsu for their chip placement machines. We see TSMC, the Taiwanese company, invest $40 billion in Phoenix, Arizona. Lots of things going on here in the world of technology, and it's a lot of money, which will cause volatility. And on top of that, President Biden is printing $400 billion in the Inflation Reduction Act. Now that feels a little bit counterintuitive to me. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but printing money in order to control inflation seems a little bit surprising. So I think the conclusion here is that what's coming here is more money, more volatility. Perfect time to be a trader. Absolutely ideal. And there's more volatility because there's a new thing that's happened in 2022 and now in 2023. And that's that the big celebrity companies are renting out their celebrities in order to drive asset values up, down. That's wonderful from a trader's perspective. Volatility. I mean, I played tennis. I played often. I played badly. And I would love it if Naomi Osaka would take an hour with me to show me how to top my forehand better and get some snap into that serve. I would love that. But respectfully, Naomi, I don't want your financial advice. I have other people to do those things. So this is volatility. These celebrities, Gisele Bündchen and so forth, respectfully, they're just introducing a lot of volatility into the market, which, like I said, from a trader's perspective, great fun. So what should we do? Well, more and more of these technologies will be used by us every single day. Please sign up and get comfortable with ChatGPT, and as quickly as you can get access to it, try to use the Microsoft new things happening inside Skype, inside Microsoft Office and so forth, inside Word. Huge things. Google is doing the same stuff with Bard. Sign up for these things, get comfortable, because they're very, very, very important to all of us. We need to be able to use a pocket calculator. We need to be able to use ChatGPT like that. It's got to be home territory. We have to get comfortable with these technologies, really comfortable. In the meantime, sign up for an account, use a standard account or ECN or Cent account to see how your trading strategies develop, and do these things in parallel. And we could use something like ChatGPT in order to advise people about which technologies to use for their trading strategies. I think still our dedicated account managers have a role to advise people, because everyone is so different. Their starting point is different, their end point is different with their trading. So please do talk to our dedicated account managers for that, and maybe the two of you can collaborate and use ChatGPT together for those things. That brings you into my account, that brings into everything that we do. We have a customized partner portal, we have all the tools that you need in order to do trading. If you want to partner with us, we're very happy to do marketing support for you. All in all, it's fun to collaborate and work together, and we really want you to join us now. And please do use ChatGPT. Thank you. Any questions? Let me see, there might be some questions coming in here. All right, so I have a question about how Microsoft are going to be affected by this. I would guess that all big technology companies, Baidu, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, have an opportunity to benefit from what we've spoken about today, because the technical weight is huge. The processing power that people will be using is huge. The complexity of the models that you need to build when you come into these big amounts of data, very, very high. So I think Microsoft's opportunity is huge. If you think about using Excel by way of example, and you're working out a formula, and you want to Google it and search somewhere to work out what to do, well, what if right then you can just write in normal language, you can just write what you're trying to do, and poof, and then ChatGPT inside Microsoft Excel gives you the answer for what your formula should be. So this is going to be everywhere in everything we do, everywhere. It's simply huge. More questions, please. Oh, question about video games. Well, I think video games have a huge impact on us. If you look at the new Hogwarts Legacy product that was launched on, I think, the 7th of February, it's had around 500 million hours of gameplay, game time already. They made $850 million of revenues in the first 2 weeks. Of course, some of that is pre-purchased, but even so. So I think these games are huge. I think the use of AI for these things is huge. If you write a script for a game and you do text-to-voice conversion, you pick the voice, you automatically simulate all of those things. Maybe the text itself is auto-generated by a computer. Then you apply that to the Motorica.ai zombies and people dancing and so forth, and suddenly you have a pretty automated system. So I think these AI technologies inside video game are going to be huge, and I think the impact on our business is going to be huge in terms of user interfaces. Our customers play games. Our customers have these rich user interfaces with 3D graphics and so forth and so forth. It will definitely be true that our future user interfaces will be like that, will be influenced, driven by the way that gaming works today. And also, I think trading will happen inside the metaverse, so we'll enter into the metaverse with goggles, and inside the metaverse, we're going to be picking products and we're going to be trading. Some of the things we'll be trading will be real physical assets, some of them will be virtualized, like in simplest form CFDs, but in more advanced forms, we'll have entirely artificial products that we're buying and selling using artificial currencies in an artificial environment. So yeah, I think video games are absolutely huge for us. More questions? I think that's all I'm seeing right now. So in that case, I'd like to say a big thank you to all of you for joining me today. I'm incredibly excited about this. I really am. And I don't want anyone on this call to come back later and say that I should have told you to try ChatGPT. I'm telling you, try ChatGPT. It's huge. It's really good. It can't be used for everything, but it can be used for so many things. You'll find it terrifyingly good. So welcome into the world of AI. Thank you.